So there are some massive changes that is going to be coming into First Descendant today that is absolutely going to directly affect your experience in the game. So what we have currently here is the First Descendant HotFix 1.0.2. The first thing that they have here is key updates, added matchmaking for infiltration operations hard. That's going to make it obviously a little bit easier for those of you guys that are looking to try to do pubs, because prior to you could only do it with private, and that meant that you had to have had a party. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But number two, rename monster patterns, which I'm going to basically suspect that they went and they changed some of the bosses. I'm almost thinking that that's what that's relevant to, but we'll see. Then number three, more rare basic materials from encrypted vaults. Number four is better UI, UX for battle supply shop. 5 is optimizations and bug fixes. So let's actually go over to the dev patch itself. Now, the thing is that they have under the patch details, content improvements. So with that, they added the start public operation function matchmaking to the infiltration operations hard. The start public operation is available even if you change the selected reward, but if you select an additional option, only start private operation will be available. So just kind of keeping that in mind. They removed the sequential type immunity spheres on the name monsters. They have been changed to either the default or extermination types. Now, the thing about this, for me, that's important. It was that I felt like that was just kind of like an annoyance thing when we're talking about like the immunity spheres, just the constant, making them longer than they had to be. So there was actually prolonging your farms unnecessarily, in my opinion, because it wasn't like so much of like, hey, here's this fun gimmick, but it's like, we're going to add this annoying gimmick to your farm, right? And so it's like, all right, cool. It was cool that did it the first time, maybe the 10th time. I was like, I bet. But by the time you get to like the 100th time you're doing that same thing, yeah, it's quite annoying. So it is nice that to see that they're going to be changing that to make it much easier, because again, this is a super heavily invested farming game. And I would argue that in the beginning, like, yes, you want those elements of, yes, having players to farm. But I would say that the longer that the game is around, the farm will progressively ramp. You don't want to hit people with too much of that so early to where they're just like, bro, I can't keep up with this, or this is just too tedious, right? So you want to make it to where, yes, it's still a grind, but you don't want little nuances or annoyances like that, which I feel like that was just one of those things. It was a fun mechanic just for like the first, few times you did it. But I think after the fact, when you start farming, it does become a little bit, it becomes a lot, especially if you're trying to solo and stuff like that too. You got ads aggroing you, and then you also have that happening. You got to try to, like, yeah, that's just a lot, right? But we could also argue getting good. I know somebody's gonna say that in the comment section, but either way, we also have the matchmaking, which is also another big deal. The matchmaking is obviously super, super important because, again, I think it's safe to say that not everybody's going to want to, they might not go for LFG. Some people will, some people won't. Some people just want and might just get on the game and directly do everything in the game. That's why like the open world with having the pubs was so impactful, at least for doing like regular dungeons and stuff. I would say Void Intercept is still one of those things where eventually you're going to start seeing people asking you, and they're probably already starting to do it, like asking you for your DPS. How much damage can you deal? These are just standard things that you just see across the board, whether it's playing, Destiny or Warframe. People are going to have to start building resumes. It might even get down to the point where you might have to start having certain guns. But I feel like for infiltration specifically, this is just basically PvE story on hard, right? So it's just like, hey, make it public, which they have gone and done. So it says the director's comment, the dev team acknowledges the community's concerns about the metonymus patterns of named monsters and strives to enhance them. In particular, we noted that the pattern involving breaking spheres in a specific order is inappropriate for public matching and have decided to remove it immediately. So as the new patterns are developed, we will soon update the patterns of existing named monsters one by one. As named monsters frequently appear in hard difficulty and special operations, we will continue working towards diversifying their patterns. So that was my thing in the last video. I kind of touched on this reacting to Force's video, was that I would just like to see different variations. It doesn't necessarily have to be just completely changed, but you don't even have to like keep playing into the same gimmick. Like just do something else with the boss. Like it's like something completely different would be fine, right? And I think that that's something that they need to play around with to figure out what us players would like to see more often, and kind of receiving and getting that feedback. Now, with that, they increased the quantity of rare basic materials dropped from the encrypted vaults threefold. The elite bogus that appear in the field missions and infiltration operations will now drop them. The director's comment: the most efficient way to farm rare basic materials is still through the encrypted vaults. But for those who prefer hunting monsters, we have updated field missions and infiltration operations to drop these materials too. The dev team will closely monitor the overall farming status and do our best to create a joyful environment for all of our descendants. Now, what I'm also like looking at too, and I'm not sure if they're going to shift that, is also how is this going to affect characters such as Enzo? Like, is it still going to be directly associated to certain resources being more accessible, or like still, again, I feel like he's going to probably still have the ease of making things farm much quicker. But we'll have to see what the drop rates will be, considering that these were items that were initially put into vaults, which was kind of like a, kind of like a treasure hunting thing, finding the vaults and then doing the little puzzle. So I'm wondering what the drop chance will be if they're moving them over to field missions and infiltration operations. I think that is the big telltale, and really, the difficulty, scaling of that. And really, if it's still worth using the Enzo strat versus just going and farming a field mission or infiltration, right? Like, that's going to be a really big deal. Now, the dev team will closely monitor the overall farming status and do our best to create the joyful environment for everybody, right? So they reduced the time from 2 90-second to 2 60-second occupations for the Kingston Bogus data transmitter hacking mission, improved the battle pass battle supply shot button visibility by redesigning it in the format of a bonus shot banner. Now, they also go to say here under the director's comment, you can get season limited skins for free from the battle supply shop. Complete preseason challenges to claim your special skin. So, I mean, hey, listen, if that's what you're going to promote, I'm all for it. Freebies are always great. I think skins across the board should be a thing, whether you're free to play or not. But I will say that there will be and should be higher or even better looking skins if people are spending money on them. I just think that that's where kind of the value comes in, right? Like, they just should look better. But we should still have access to them. Hopefully, again, they do directly address the issue with like the paints only being used one time. I think that that's something else in conjunction to not only giving us skins, but allowing those paints to be able to be utilized. So it's not this constant need to either obtain them or buy them, right? So with that, they updated the library window from closing when the map is open and closed through the acquisition information pop-up box. Now they improved the duration of party invitation messages to make it easier to confirm and accept, and improve the duration of the Descendant instructor lines. Now it says many Descendants have commented that the Descendant instructor's dialogue contains many useful game tips. Currently, it's not possible to revisit these previous dialogues. We are planning to fix this. Now this is a huge thing, because this is why I have so many people that comment on the videos and they're like, people should just know this. Did they not read? And my thing is that, hey, somebody could have honestly just been skipping dialogue. They could have skipped the part by mistake. And there's certain things they literally cannot go back and read. So even if you're like, well, it's in the game, they can't go back and look at it. And that's kind of one of the big issues, is that there are some things that aren't directly said. And then there's just some things, like, again, like I mentioned, and like they're mentioning, you can't actually go back and see. So I think that that's something that, again, is like, when you're talking about ease of access and making it that progress and the progression flow much easier for players, that's an important thing. Being able to have a source so we can, as content creators, say, hey guys, if there's any information you're missing, here's a tab that you can go to X, Y, and Z and see that information, right? So it says we will continue to make improvements so Descendants can easily access the information that they, information that they require. Now, they also moved the guide NPC you meet after first arriving in Albion closer. So we'll have to look in game on what exactly that's going to be. They did some optimization improvements as well for GPU usage, CPU, reducing the loading of that for shader generation. That's going to really help out with stability. Shader optimization is another thing. They were monitoring, because I think they had some issues with the 13th and 14th gen Intel. So I know there was, I think there might have been some lower like ones as well that they were also having issues with. They fixed a bug that allows frame limits to be set when using NVIDIA and AMD's frame generation. So it's a lot of things that they worked on, it looks like, for helping out the actual processing of the game. Then bug fixes, they fixed the issue displaying unused items in the library. Descendants, okay? So they fixed the issues where Descendants could not get out of DBNO when their HP was below 100% from module settings. And then they also fix the issue where Kyle would occasionally go up in the air when using the superconductivity thrusters during the repulsion dash. And then they also fixed an issue where SMO could not get back up while using the arch explosion and being inflicted with knockback. I think one of the things somebody else had brought up to me too was that there was like during combining or fusing or enhancing modules, people were getting like their units reset and locked to level 1. Let me know in the comment section if they did fix that, because somebody did bring it up to me, but I didn't know where that was mentioned in any patch, if they did mention it. But just let me know in the comment section down below. Modules, so they fixed the issue where the increase in firearm attack per stack in the sharp precision shot module was summed instead of multiplied, and that's huge. So now that actually would mean that that should be better to a degree. Well, actually it might not. We'll have to see. I have to test that. Now, they also have the equipment where it fixed an issue where the weapon's attribute damage did not apply damage over 100k. And they fixed an issue where higher values were displayed as the ultimate gold option, despite the reactor's skill cooldown and skill cost stats being preferable with lower values. And then they fixed the issue where lower values were displayed as the ultimate gold option, despite the weapon change speed stat being preferable with higher values. So yeah, you want that to be 100% transparent, what people are actually getting. So they know if they need to continue rolling or not. So yeah, very, very, very good fixes. In the field, they fixed issues with the amorphous patterns and stuff like that. I guess there was the amorphous pattern 18 and shape stabilizer form 8 were not dropped at Frozen Valley, the Voga strategic outpost and Fortress Hard. And there was a couple of other things here. I'm not gonna go through all of these because I know that this is just like a lot. But they also made it to where Vesper resource box materials were dropped from Echo, Swamp, Agna Desert, White Note Gulch, Hagios, and Fortress Infiltration Operation resource boxes. Research had an issue fixed with core materials of Ultimate Descendants. They were being descripted incorrectly. So they did a lot of things, right? So to finish all this off, the director's additional comment, it has come to our attention that the community is worried about possible nerfs to the Tamer and Gley's infinite magazine builds. The meta is very strong, but since it is within the scope of what the dev teams have planned, there is no immediate plans to do so. So in addition, some weapons are more powerful than Tamer, and there are a variety of character builds that rival Gley's infinite magazine. So please enjoy them fully. So I think that's also like telling people, like, go figure out those builds, like go figure it out. It's in the game, go figure it out. So we're gonna try to figure it out. We've been looking forward to seeing Descendants use creative builds to take down powerful colossi swiftly, and so we're quite delighted to see this in action now. We are aware that as many Descendants begin farming in earnest, various discussions are taking place regarding drop rates. There is no variable drop system in the First Descendant. We are using the fixed rates displayed in the game. The dev team has reviewed the acquisition rates across all servers and confirmed that they are dropping according to the rates displayed. We are currently working on various measures to ensure the community can trust the dev team, such as disclosing item drop amounts for each content, and we also prepare ways to improve the farming experience. The First Descendant will continue to communicate transparently and honestly. So here's the thing with that. This means that they are putting it on the table, and this is at least what we're being told at this point, that we are getting proper drop rates, even if it doesn't feel like it is, right? And I guess when we're talking about RNG, that's RNG for you, right? So I will say, hopefully nothing, I'm super for this game. I hope nothing comes up because we all know like the whole fiasco where they got sued and all that jazz for rates. So I'm hoping that they're trying to turn over a new leaf with this project, and they're really trying to truly honestly make sure that players are getting 100% the truth when it comes down to rates and what is exactly being displayed and happening in the game. Again, I get it. It doesn't change how it might feel, but I also think that again, them directly tackling and answering that versus beating around the bush is also really important as well. So again, it seems like they're not really trying to nerf anything right now. They're like fully intending these things to be super strong. But I also think that what this is also going to lead to is the fact that there's going to be things that are going to be added into the game later on via Void Inception bosses, and even probably more things like raids or other things that they want to add that is going to be super hard. So they're actually probably trying to see peak potential with a lot of these units so that they can know what kind of content they want to bring in terms of the scaling. And again, we might actually see some pretty ridiculous stuff as we move forward. So yeah, guys, that's basically going to be everything under the dev note for the hotfix. Again, this is 1.0.2. That's going to be that for this one. Definitely, again, guys, appreciate all you guys that have been subscribing to the channel. Yeah, you guys have been an absolute blast and entertaining to comment and talk back to. Again, I'm trying to get to as many people as I can. And again, I got you guys' message. The word is not Cooper, it's Kuiper, okay? So I'll make sure I'll say it properly, or at least I'll try to remember to from here on out. So again, appreciate all you guys for the love and support, man. And yeah, you guys have a blessed day. I'll catch you guys in the next one.